That is correct.
This meeting only lasts 5 minutes, so we'll call the meeting to order. Ask for approval of the minutes of our March 18th meeting.
Moved. So moved.
The minutes have to be corrected.
Okay.
I have Janice is absent, but then she joined in. I just need to go back and find out when she joined in and add that. And then we also need to add a paragraph at the beginning stating due to the coronavirus, our meeting was for the executive order and her webinar.
I would make a motion to accept the minutes with those 2 changes.
Thanks, Ryan. Second?
Seconded.
All in favor? Or I should say discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Finance Committee?
Nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. Old business? Hearing nothing, we'll move on to new business with the loan deferral payments. We talked about that. We need a resolution to do that, Steve.
That's correct. Yeah, we talked about it last month, but we didn't have the meeting scheduled for the CRC. So, we need to sort of formalize that we're going to offer starting out 90-day deferrals on all of our loans for those that want to take advantage of it and that are not currently in judgment.
Okay, would someone like to make that motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
We might get this done in 5 minutes, Doreen. Okay, the Yates CRC legal representative for representation approval. Steve, you want to bring us up to speed on that? Sure.
We've discussed it for quite a while now, and we talked, the governance committee members and I talked through it. We had sent out a bid for legal representation, if you recall, and received. We did that a number of months ago. Received a handful of responses from basically all the major players in the IDA arena, and they were all good. Obviously, their backgrounds were solid, and after discussion and some follow up with some references and everything, we actually made the decision to go with Harris Beach as our law firm moving forward, mainly because it really came, not that obviously Hodge and Russ did anything wrong, that's for sure, but Harris Beach is located in Rochester, and they would be able to be present at the board meetings and possibly committee meetings much more frequently. In fact, they plan to be at every board meeting, assuming we can be at board meetings again. But outside of that, and they have a bunch of the regional IDAs in the area too. So there's some area knowledge. There's and the proximity, and I've had experience with them when I was in Genesee County as well. So we made that recommendation. The governance committee agreed with it. So looking to have the board, I guess, just sort of formalize that decision to go with Harris Beach as our new IDA attorneys on our pilots and our potential bond financing. Although we've only done one of those, but excuse me. And it would start for any projects coming in now. We would continue to, whatever projects we're working on with Joe Scott and Hodge and Russ, we would move that. We would complete those with with them just so that there's no hiccups along the way.
You explain. Go ahead.
Yeah, James.
I just had a question, Steve, just for my own learning. Is it typical that the legal counsel sits outside of the county in which the IDA exists?
Yeah, in fact, there's, they're all basically, Joe Scott's firm is more or less headquartered actually in Buffalo. His office was in Albany. And so Harris Beach actually has the closest representation to us being in Rochester.
Okay.
We do use Heaton and Venuti for some of our more local, for like the loan funds, and some other general legal aspects. And they have had, I don't know if they still do, to be honest, they did have a penny and location for a little while, but
I was just curious if it was a requirement for them to be outside of the county for objectivity or impartiality or anything like that. So
no.
Thank you. Thanks.
Steve, do we have a partner that's kind of assigned to us, or is it just the firm with broad representation?
Nope, that's a good question. We do. Harris, they have a couple different, they have a team that will be assigned to us, but our main contact will be a gentleman named Russ Genzel.
Okay.
I think you remember Russ. Right?
I remember Russ, yeah.
Russ has been with them for a long time, and is, this is me talking, not Harris Beach talking. My assumption is that he's sort of number two in charge of their practice there, and they have the largest IDA practice out of the law firms. They have, for what it's worth, they represent over 250 municipalities, public authorities, agencies, and school districts, and over 25 IDAs and 50 LDCs throughout the state. They have Genesee, Seneca, Steuben, Monroe, and Tompkins County IDAs. Of course, in my summary, I didn't list the rest of the team. But yeah, Russ will be the lead attorney. And actually, again, that's just my assumption is that he, the guy that sort of heads up their entire practice and their public finance group is a gentleman named Sean Griffin, who is of no relation whatsoever to me. I guess I should probably make that clear. But he's like number one, and yeah, I assume there's probably other people in Harris Beach that would argue this, but we kind of get Russ as number two. So he's got a lot of knowledge there, that's for sure.
Yeah, good.
So with that, may we have a motion then, please, to employ Harris Beach as our legal representation, or at least for these type of subjects going forward?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Is there anything else that we need to discuss on this meeting, Steve, Doreen, or the two mics?
I don't have anything.
Okay, hearing nothing, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. And, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed?
Aye.
And carried. So we'll now call the meeting, with everybody's permission, we'll call the meeting of the Horizon Economic Development Corporation to order. And I guess we don't have any guests. So ask to approve the minutes of our March 18th meeting.
These minutes also need to be corrected with the coronavirus paragraph that we were webinar for that governor's executive order. Whatever.
You gonna put the whatever in there, Tori?
Emergency and state and federal bans on large meetings or gatherings to And that what the meeting was held via electronic webinar instead
Okay.
of a public meeting.
Very good. Would somebody like to move the approval of the minutes with those additions and corrections?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and carried. Thank you very much. Finance reports, we received those, but anything there, Doreen?
Yep, I have one check number 285 to Parker's Grill for $37,708.18 as part of the OCR grant that they received through the Village of Penn Yan.
Yeah, that was the fourth reimbursement for renovations for Parker's Grill.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments on the Finance Committee report? Motion to accept it.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Great. Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed and carried. Okay, any old business?
Nope.
Hearing none, we'll move into new business. We'd have to, but we'll discuss the loan payment deferral for this corporation.
So, yep, same as last time. Just need to formalize that we're going to offer the 90-day deferral for those companies that have a loan through Horizon that are not under any sort of judgment.
All right, so somebody like to make that motion?
So moved.
And a second? All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Another meeting I was at, and it seemed to work somewhat reasonably well, is the chair just asked for if there was any opposition, and then that saves all the ayes and noes and all that. Is that acceptable? Or do we need to? Yeah, that was not as formal as a meeting as this, I guess. So, okay, forget it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think we have to be more formal with it.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next meeting, we'll probably have to wash our hands before we start.
Should anyways, Gene.
I did. Okay, the legal representation, this again would be the Harris Beach situation.
That's correct. So we need
It's up.
a motion to hire Harris Beach as our counsel for this.
Someone like to make that motion?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And carried. Thank you very much. Okay, the retail gift certificate program. Steve, please.
So, and this will probably I'm into a couple different discussions, but we've been trying to figure out the best way to address, or maybe not the best way, but a way to try to help the local businesses out, whether it's a loan fund or some other kind of program or multiple programs. One of the ideas we've came up with, actually borrowing it a little bit from Burkett Mills, who bought some gift certificates for their employees just prior to a lot of this happening, to be used at some of the restaurants, was to expand that and actually have a local, and this won't be the name of it because it's a sort of a terrible name right now, but a local retail gift certificate program, and we're working in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce on it, where the Chamber of Commerce actually has their own gift certificates already. They're chamber gift certificates. Currently, they can be used. You could go buy a chamber gift certificate and then give it to someone, and they can use that at currently it's at any chamber member business. And then that business would take the gift certificate back up to the chamber and receive the money for it. we talked to Jessica Batcher about it, and what we'd like to do is try to incentivize people to purchase those gift certificates to use, and it'll be at any business in Yates County based on the COVID emergency here. So they're going to sort of waive that, have to be a chamber member for this particular program. What we want to do is kind of put a kicker amount in there, and the number might change a little bit, but basically what we've been talking about currently is you buy a $25 chamber gift card that we will then give you an additional $5 on that, not gift card, gift certificate. So you buy a $25 gift certificate from the chamber, you actually get a $30, it'll be $30 in value that you can then go spend anywhere you want within Yates County. And what we thought that might do is, then it's up to, and whether maybe employers buy it for their employees or just friends buy it for whomever, or people want to buy it for themselves because they're getting a pretty good additional benefit to the amount they're buying, they're going to use anyways, to get up there and get some money into the local economy. What we'd like to do is put $5,000 from Horizon into our FLEDC Yates Development Fund, which is a fund managed. Actually, it's through Canandaigua National Bank, but it's handled through that we get to utilize all of their sort of insurance and such on it, which is why we set it up a long time ago. And we actually put it in the budget when we approved the budget this year. There is a line item for $5,000 to that fund. The fund has money in it. It's the money we use to purchase some of the material for the cloth, the cotton masks that have been being made, and it's money from the McGowan Foundation and the Nord Family Foundation, and then obviously our $5,000. So the goal would be to put, and I've talked to Katie Peterson, we would put $2,500 of the current funds into that kicker account, if you will, plus this $5,000. So we'd have $7,500 in that to start. My goal was to get it to $10,000, and I'm going to be applying for some other funds as well. I think we can get there pretty quickly with that amount. And if we have that, then if that full amount gets used as the quote kicker amount, so again, I got to find much better marketing definitions for this program, but there'd be $50,000 in chamber gift certificates purchased. So in total, you'd have 60 grand out there that's going to be used around the community. I've shared it with a few other individuals who have been emailing me, texting me, messaging me about what they can do to help out their hometown. And all of them so far have really liked it and said, let me know when you're ready and we'll donate to the account for sort of the kicker account amount to keep boosting that value up so we can get more gift certificates, more money out there. So what I'd be looking for, and I'll answer any questions before we actually have the formal vote, but I guess what I'm looking for now is to approval to actually spend the $5,000 to put that into that joint place account. And then I would ask if we're okay with using it as that program. The program still needs to be tweaked a little bit, but the chamber's moving along well with it on their end. Their website's going to be able to handle some of this. So it's moving along pretty quick. But I think the incentivized amount is an important aspect of it. So that was probably a terrible description. So ask questions on it.
So Steve, is it,
Businesses. Go ahead.
so Steve, I can
The chamber,
Kim, go ahead.
How does the money get from the chamber back to the businesses?
That's the one delay in payment, if you will, that once they'll have to wait, the business will have to receive the gift certificates. It's an actual gift certificate that'll be brought in, and then they will then have to take the gift certificate back to the chamber, and the chamber will give them the money. And the one other, I don't know that it's a downside, but it'll have to be described to the people buying the gift certificates as the chamber, because they're actual full gift certificates. They're not like gift cards that you can add value to. You have to use that value, whatever you buy. You buy a $25 gift certificate, it has to be used at that one business. You can't spend $12 of it in one place and then take it and use it at a different store, and it shows that there's only $13 of value left. So it's not perfect, but it's as close to perfect as we got.
Steve, question on use of it. I could see where, I just thought of this, like a downside of it is that people may just go to the grocery store and use it. And I don't think that's your goal, right? You want to encourage all the other businesses to have people coming into it. So is there any way that would stop that?
No, but I don't know that it's, hopefully they'd use it for some other purposes as well. One of the things that we've struggled with on, I was going to talk about on the next part with the loan fund is how to do a program that is impactful enough for any one business, but has a large enough reach to impact a bunch of businesses. And the problem we have with the loan fund is that so many businesses need financial help that as big as our loan fund is for an IDA, it can't touch need out there. And so we're forced to, we can either lend a bunch of money to a couple of businesses and risk, upsetting a bunch of other businesses because they didn't get any money, or we can have a small value to go out to a whole bunch of other businesses, probably not be all that impactful at all. With the gift certificate program, I think we're then sort of putting it into the user's hands of what they believe is most important to them. I don't know that we would limit it to, hey, you can't use this for groceries, because that might be what they need it for. So hopefully it'd be spread throughout, because that's the goal, is to try to help as many as we can. But in this way, we've at least kind of let it up to the individual user to use it where they need it or where they want to use it.
Steve, a couple of operational questions. One, is there a time limit on this, meaning the gift certificates have to be used within a year, or hasn't that been determined yet?
Has not been determined yet.
Okay, I've asked these questions because I've had experiences with gift certificates.
Yep.
The other question would be, would we be reimbursing the chamber on a monthly basis or something like that, rather than just handing them $10,000 and say, here it is? But when they have to reimburse the gift certificates, or however they're going to do it, within reason, we might give them $500. I don't know, but I just a little hesitant about writing a check for $5,000 and we don't know how many of these are really going to be sold.
Right.
Not saying we shouldn't do it or anything like that. Just
no. It's again one of the parts we got to formalize in the structure of this. But we did have the initial discussions with the chamber over that, like how to do the first batch, and they have the operating funds to cover some portion of these to start with. Mm-hmm. But we can, because the only amount they'll actually be out is the kicker amount, because to buy the gift certificate, someone's got to give them the money. So it's only the incentivized amount that they'll have to cover. So they can do that for a little bit. Then we probably would do it in tranches, if you will, and say, all right, here's if 10,000 is the number, here's the first 2,500.
Yes.
And, work with them. So, okay, they've expended that. Okay, here's the next 2,500. And it only takes a couple days. All I have to do is send an email to my contact at the place account, and the check gets sent out. If I do it early enough in the day, that day, worst case, it goes out the next day.
Okay.
Steve, one comment on how the money gets to the businesses, and it may not be possible to do it. The sooner they get that, the better. And it sounds like the way it is now is that you have to wait until the people use the gift certificate to then get the reimbursement from the chamber. Is there a way that when the gift certificate's purchased, and whether it's once a week or twice a week, that the chamber would then give a list of those gift certificates purchased and the money to the establishment now, and then, you know, obviously they have to fulfill the order or honor it when it comes through, but some people may stock up now and spend them in the summer or when they're able to go out. And if that's when they're receiving the money for it, it's going to be less impactful then than it would be now.
So we probably would handle that through, if legally we can do it, through the expiration date. So, you know, because I don't think you can, that the chamber gift certificate isn't made out to a business. So you go buy it, and it says, I think I've done it a few times as gifts. It says like Gates County Chamber of Commerce gift certificate, and it's actually some education we'll have to do with local businesses, because the places I've used it, because the business owner's like, what do I do with this? So we gotta. There's a little bit of marketing that's got to happen with the program itself, but I see what you're right, and that was the reason we sort of centered on the chamber gift certificate program, was because we thought about, all right, can we go buy our own gift cards, right, and just through this account buy a whole bunch of different gift cards at a whole bunch of different businesses, and then let people pick which ones they want. But then that gets messy because there's 900 plus businesses in Yates County, and you're going to upset somebody. So I think you can probably get there, assuming we can do it, by putting a short life on the gift certificate itself. Again, there's, like I said, there's got to be some. We got to think this thing through a little bit more. But I know Burkett did that. Burkett told their employees to use it within 2 weeks. Because it was for a couple different local restaurants, I believe. I think.
Okay.
Hey, Steve.
Yes, Janice.
Just trying to understand the objective. If the objective is to help small businesses, or is it to help the people in the community? Going back to Doreen's question about the grocery store, because I had that exact same thought. Which people could do it, but if it's to help the small businesses and the new restaurants and things like that, I'm just wondering if there's a way to streamline the process where you had a matching program when people bought gift certificates or just went directly to the restaurant and spent money. If we did something like that, and I'm not saying anything bad about the chamber, it's just a very cumbersome process. And if I walked into Tops with the Chamber of Commerce gift certificate, I don't know what they would do with it, if they would use it. I assume they would know how to use it, but to your point about different businesses, and we could do it electronically, with Venmo or something like that to make it more seamless, but the lag time of I don't know. I think if we could encourage, if the objective of the program is to encourage people utilizing small businesses, in particular the restaurants, and we called it, I don't know, Small Business Support Fund or whatever, and the call to action is help your friends and neighbors stay in business, and we focused it on that, we could develop the list of however, why people wanted to participate. They could use their own gift cards, and then you could have a matching fund or something like that. So the businesses who signed up for it. So if I went into the Nest Egg and wanted to spend $20 on a gift certificate, if Heather wanted to participate, she would write the gift certificate for $25, send us the note, and we'd reimburse her directly for $5. So it allows me to go to the merchant I want directly in a single step versus going to the chamber and then going to the merchant going to the chamber. And I don't know. I don't mean to cut the chamber out for any reason other than at the end user, it's an easier experience for them, and the merchant gets their money sooner. So I don't know if that's the objective of the program. Maybe we structure it around the small businesses, and the call to action is in the community is, to help keep your small businesses up and running. And if you go to these small businesses and spend, for every $20 you spend, you get an extra $5. It's a really simple message. I don't know. And that way, if they just wanted to spend the money there, they can still get the extra $5 versus it just being a gift card. I don't know. Because I don't know how many people have online offerings versus, at a restaurant, and it would be, takeout. It'd be.
Right. No, it's
I think what this begs the question is, do we as the ID, whatever the organization is going to do this, want to get into a gift certificate program and be in charge of implementing it and setting the rules and regulations, or do we simply want to support one that's already in place? Because it sounds like to me we're not talking so much about supporting the program as how the program is run. Maybe that would be dependent on our money contribution. But again, having involvement with gift certificates, I'm not sure that we want to get involved in the direct operation of this and paying individual businesses for a $5 coupon.
So, Jean, you're saying maybe just still have the chamber run it and administrate it, but we put in a different set of rules of engagement of how it was run, so we didn't have to get into the business of that reimbursement process.
Yes, ma'am. As I understand it, it hasn't been cast in stone yet. So I think Steve and we will have the opportunity to make some suggestions as to how this goes. And the question of whether I was being a little bit facetious yesterday, but I said, somebody could buy a $25 gift certificate and go to Joe's Bar and Grill. I don't think we want that to happen, but those things need to be, I think, clarified, as been pointed out by the people on this conversation.
So Steve and I did talk with Jessica. She sounded open to the idea of allowing or writing on the gift card the specific restaurant. So if a customer is looking to buy for the Nest Egg or Union Block, they can specify that on their order, and Jessica will write that on the card, so it will have to be used at that restaurant versus anywhere in the community. It doesn't help the process of getting the money to them faster because it's still when it's used, but we can answer that with the expiration date, as Steve was saying. Limit it to you have to select the business, then.
But operationally, if these businesses are having a tough time with cash flow and I come in with a $25 gift certificate and I get a couple of those in a night, I guess that would be a good thing because that would mean the program's in play. But does it cause any problem for them to not get the cash in the till at that moment when they transact with the food and everything? I don't know. That's just a question I would have if I was a small business and I don't have any cash and I'm delivering food. I don't know how strapped they would be or how quick the cash flow would come back in.
Well, depending on the system, it's probably not a lot different than credit cards.
Yeah, I would agree.
Oh, okay, Jean, that's fair.
Also, I think administratively, if each business has to sell individual cards, how you were suggesting, Janice, I think that's a lot more difficult to administer. Whereas if we're just going through the chamber and they sell the certificates, it's just the business is going back to them. And you could do a real quick turnaround, like you said, with Venmo or whatever system they set up. They could get the money to them fast. And most of these retailers are used to gift cards or gift certificates. They sell them at the holidays. So they know how to work it in their own business structure, I think.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. That makes sense, Rita. I was just trying to get people to go directly to the business and not have to do 2 steps to make it more,
Yeah.
But the value, the extra $5 would theoretically be a good reason to do that. But I was just trying to think if there was a program where they could go directly to a group of small businesses, and then the campaign would be, around supporting your neighborhood. And when you buy a gift certificate from them, or just go there and eat, you get $25 worth of food for just $20, as opposed to even having to do a gift certificate. So, but if we don't want to administer it, then that would obviously be a challenge.
Well, the other thing that I guess it would, the chamber gift certificate, and again, it's not, it's not the ideal setup. What, like I mentioned earlier, was the one that was most readily available to us. The one thing it does do is it would allow us to track the benefit or the usefulness of the program, because we know how many people are going there directly for the gift certificates, because I don't think the chamber sells a lot of them. So we could sort of track, okay, this either is being successful or it's not successful at all. Let's adapt and do something different. Versus, like if we keep Gene's Hub example, there's a lot of people going out and doing takeout still. So I could, I don't know what would stop them, or I shouldn't say I don't know what would. We'd have to figure out a way to just not broadly and give them $5 extra just because they're, I'd like for that business owner, for someone that was spending the money anyways, right? We're trying to incentivize people to spend a little bit more, and this would be a gift certificate of some kind would be one way to know that that's how the money was used.
Yeah, I don't know how you would stop. I mean, like if I was going to go to Union Block anyway, and I heard about this program and I got an extra $5 and I went and got my certificate, I don't.
Well, then we knew they heard of the program first.
Right. Yep.
My worry is that the guy at Union Block I guess it wouldn't
matter. They would still get the full $25. So it's not going to hurt the business. It's just that we would be paying,
$5 might not.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if the goal is still to help the small business. You're still helping the small business because they just earned 20% more, 25% more on that order. So it still accomplishes your goal of helping the small business. It just could be that person was eating there anyway.
Yeah, this is helpful, by the way. This is, so I know we're over our time, but this is where most of the meetings most of the concentration of this meeting is going to take place anyway.
But Steve, what if you ask the retailers to sign up for the program? So it wasn't just any business in Yates County. So that way, you could say, if you positioned it as the smaller business, or, to keep business continuity or something like that, if you position it to the businesses as, say, a business continuity program, Tops doesn't probably need a business continuity program, to Doreen's point. So if you went out and had people sign up for it, so then they're aware of the program, so that if someone comes in with a gift certificate, they're like, oh, okay, this is what I do with this. And then, I don't know, maybe even they could promote it to their customers as well. So that then, from their existing customer base, if people aren't buying, they could come in and, get something extra or whatever. And then that way the campaign, the call to action is I'm trying to have a call to action for the community, both for the retailers and the people, to say, haven't visited your, local business lately, buy this great gift certificate and, get an extra 25% or whatever, or extra $5 or however we want to position it, for the 25 for 20 or whatever you're going to do. So then that way you have a list of participating businesses. To Jean's point, operationally, you can, know what the expiration dates are and that type of thing. So it's not, any business in Yates County, but any business could participate, theoretically.
I suggest, it sounds like to me that we're all in that we are in agreement that we would support the gift certificate program. There's been lots of good suggestions. Perhaps Steve can take those back to the chamber, or maybe there's somebody on our committee that would like to work with Steve on this. And because I'm not sure that we can come up with our ideas and suggestions, we can do that, but we certainly can't tell the chamber that's what they have to do unless we tie our money to it.
Okay.
So yeah, why don't we do, if we're okay with this, the theory of the program, if I can get the approval today, and I'm not forcing you to vote on this, if you don't think we're there yet, we can talk about that. But what I would like to do is get the approval to put the 5,000 over into the fund, knowing we still have to develop this program a little bit, and whoever would like to give input, Janice, I'd love to follow up with you after this meeting, and I'm planning on doing that anyways, and get some ideas on how to better maybe structure and broadcast this.
Sure. Happy to help,
so,
Steve.
What I'd like to suggest that we put the $5,000 into the program and do it immediately. Well, otherwise, we're going to be waiting another month. And if this program is critical to our local economy, I don't see any reason to wait a month. I personally have got enough confidence in the chamber and Steve and Janice to come up with the parameters for the program. If it's worth doing, let's get it started.
Yeah, I'm completely fine with that too.
Sounds good to me, Jane.
Great.
I'll make
Okay.
the motion to put the 5,000 in.
Second.
Seconded.
Any other discussion or comment? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed and carried. So that one took about 20 minutes or 25 minutes. This next one ought to take about an hour.
well,
I'm being a little flippant, everybody.
So
okay, go ahead, Steve.
And like I said, well, the 2 points kind of go hand in hand, and that's because we've you remember me mentioning back at the last meeting, or maybe you don't, but we talked about the how I had other IDAs call me and say, hey, how did you structure your emergency loan fund with the flood? Because we want to do something similar for this. And I challenged them then, saying, this is a whole different ballgame. That was a confined area with a dozen or so businesses impacted that knew what their expenses were. There was a physical damage to their property. Once that was repaired, they could open again. In this case, it's covering your entire county, and the expense, while it might be known right now, keeps increasing the longer everyone's at with this required stay-at-home mandate. And so IDAs, even our loan fund, which is considerable in size for an IDA across the state, is nothing for what the current need is, and that's really what the SBA is trying to handle. And you see, they come out with their phase one stimulus and realize, however many billions of dollars it was, and realize, oops, that's not enough. We need more. And then they come out with phase two and realize, oops, that's not enough. We need more. Like this, the amount needed is immense. I guess a further example of that is in the survey I gave you, just the summaries, and I've only had a couple more responses from the management report, so it's not really worth updating it to you, but only 10 respondents put in how much they're requesting from the SBA. And those 10 respondents, it was 3.3 million in requests. So as just an example of how quickly a loan fund like ours is going to evaporate. I've talked with a number of other economic developers. I've talked with other bankers, and I don't see where our loan fund makes enough of an impact to actually offer an emergency loan fund. I guess another example of that is out of all the respondents, of the 27 respondents, 25 of them had already either applied for SBA funding or were planning on it. 2 weren't going to apply for it. And out of all of those, all those that were going to apply, they had already either had applied or were getting help from their local bank to do so, which is phenomenal. It speaks to our local banks. But I did check around to see what some of the other economic development groups are doing to see if there is a place for this program. And I have found 4 examples. Steuben County, they're the most recent one. They have a $500,000 loan fund that they partnered with. It's not just the Steuben County IDA money, it's Steuben County IDA. It's actually the county itself, Corning Enterprises. I think it's those 3 put money into the fund, and it's being managed by a group called FLEDC, which is a regional group out of Corning that handles all the loan funds. Steuben County IDA doesn't have their own loan fund. Their program is up to $20,000, and it's a 30-month loan up to $20,000, and you have to have been declined by the SBA to get the funds. I'm not sure why you'd get declined by the SBA, but it's an interesting thought. For those who for some reason can't get SBA funding, maybe we could step up and help there. And then all the rest are kind of the same way. North Country Alliance which is actually an 8-county economic development group out of the North Country. Obviously, they're doing $10,000 and $25,000 working capital loans. Can't be a startup. Orange County has a $500,000 loan fund for this. Theirs was a little bit interesting. Theirs could be used to train, rehire, and recruit employees. Thought that was kind of an interesting part of it. To help identify supply chain shortfalls, to clean and disinfect your facility, and then also to help pay for any consultants to fill out your SBA apps and for themselves, I guess, to help with counseling, which is, the applications are really simple on the SBA. But anyways, I don't know how much $10,000 and $25,000 loan funds will help. I'm sure they would, but the SBA can do that. I'll put Ryan on the spot here a little bit. I don't know if he's willing to speak to it or not, but I did ask him, and he said there is some money already coming back from the SBA. So those who have applied, I think, are starting to see some of the funds come in. Is that accurate, Ryan?
Yeah, so the PPP loan program, they opened applications on April 3rd, and we started accepting them, then approved them all weekend, but held off that first week on funding them because SBA at the time was saying they were going to have specific closing requirements or language they needed in our notes. And they even said they were going to provide a note that we needed to use. So we waited 5 days, and that never came. And so we decided on Friday last week to start funding these. So we're closing as many of them as we can now. The funds actually come from the bank, but the SBA guarantees it. And then when the forgiveness is applied for, those funds would come from SBA to wipe out whatever portion of the loan will get forgiven. So PPP loans are definitely being funded and money going out the door pretty quick on those. As far as the EIDL loans, I don't know that I've heard anybody that has received their actual loan request, but I have heard that when you could ask for up to a $10,000 advance on your EIDL loan, and that would be a grant, and people have started receiving those advances on Monday of this week, I think was the first that I had heard. that started reading those. And I know that initially it was everybody would qualify for the 10,000, but now it's 1,000 per employee up to 10,000. So someone had asked for the 10,000, but they only had 5 employees, so they got 5,000. And so that money is starting to come out as well. And I would agree with Steve that those 2 programs are pretty comprehensive, and most all businesses would qualify for that. The limiting factor would be the size standards. And if there's a company that's too large to qualify for that, I don't know how much help the $15,000 or $20,000 loan from the IDA would be to that size company. I think, in my opinion, that those 2 programs are what people have with their banks is probably sufficient for now. But what might happen is if that, in my opinion, would change if the PPP program runs out of money, because then there would be businesses that are applying for it that can't get that assistance, and it can't get that what can turn into free money or forgiven loan. Another thing would be, and maybe something we want to talk about a couple months from now when people do get open and they've already gone through these SBA resources. If they need help at that point, that might be something where the smaller dollar amounts working capital loans would be more relevant. Just a couple thoughts of mine.
Thank you for that. I agree. I think that the demand is so great right now that there's mechanisms in place to try to help the businesses do there, that I do think I haven't seen where there's been a whole lot of foresight or forethought given in some of these programs. Once the money does run out, how do we help the businesses once the yellow tape's ripped off and people can come out again? How do we get them moving as quickly as we can? And I think there might be better places for our money to go for that. I don't know what that is yet. I'm willing to take any of your inputs on what that might be on a second call. But I'm more interested in trying to figure out how to set up a program for that aspect. And I think sort of that training and rehiring, recruiting employees is an interesting take, because they're, hopefully, if I had wood around, give me a knock on it. If our numbers stay low in this county, there's, that could help local employers with the recruiting. Hey, look, this is where our location isn't so bad. The pandemic is, we're insulated, relatively speaking, from everyone else. So there could be an opportunity there to help employers recruit employees, which has been a challenge. So I think there's some interesting aspects there, and might be able to find a better use for that money. But I don't want to be the final say in it. I'd love to hear Ryan gave his put. If there's others who disagree and think, no, we should get some money out there, I'm interested in discussing that. Circling back to the gift certificate program, the 5,000 is obviously a really small number. If it proves successful, then I'd rather keep funneling money into whatever that program is, at least in the early stage, and see where that goes, knowing it's not going to come back to us. But you could almost chalk that up to, if we were to do a $250,000 loan to businesses that couldn't qualify for SBA funding, what's the default rate going to be on that? How much are we going to see 25 grand of that go away through just closures? And if so, let's put $25,000 behind some sort of an incentive to get people to spend money in the community. So that's the thoughts now. I don't have the right program in my mind yet, but I wanted to at least have the discussion with the board, see and get thoughts on it.
Steve, I agree with you. I think the stabilize and rebuild phase, they're going to need help with demand generation, and in the stabilize and rebuilding, that's what we're getting right now, is requests for what are the health and safety programs I need to put in place to keep my workers safe when they come to work every day? Instead of cleaning, now I have to sanitize. How do I do that? So I don't know if there are, part of, you could put a program in place. And again, I guess going back to Jean, I guess we don't actually do the work, but if we partnered with somebody who said, we have a go from cleaning to sanitization, and here's how you keep your workers healthy. So there's an underlying program that we use this money to fund to get those businesses back up and running quicker, so they don't all have to figure it out by themselves, and B, there's some resources there. There may be other issues that I'm not thinking of right now, financial or otherwise, that you guys would have some thoughts on. But and then I think the demand generation and getting people comfortable going back out into the community to drive that demand is really key. So, but we're doing a lot of that planning right now for our clients to get them and ready to rebuild when they open, to stabilize and rebuild.
It sounds like to me that we do want to do something, or may want to do something. We're not quite sure. It doesn't appear at this particular moment it's imperative that we do something, as maybe Steve or Ryan suggested. Let's see where these other programs come through, and our money is still there if it's needed a month or two from now. We certainly would have more information on which to make decisions at that point.
Agreed. So,
I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't know how others feel, but if we're all somewhat in concert with that, we can look at that at our next meeting.
I agree.
I think 30 days, every 30 days, we're going to have a new perspective on this.
Yes, I agree. So if that's the case, then we're all set with emergency loan discussion, executive session. Do we need one of those, gentlemen?
I don't believe so.
Okay, then our next meeting will be whenever it's needed, I guess, and entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and opposed and carried. Okay, so now we'll move into the Economic Development Center meeting. Call that to order and ask for approval of the minutes of March 18th.
Same thing those did with the coronavirus. Our meeting was via webinar.
Okay. Would somebody like to move those minutes with those additions?
I would move that.
Thank you.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Any changes in the agenda? Okay, hearing none. Finance report?
Yep. I've checks dated from March through today, along with payroll totaling $63,902.60, with check numbers 5175 through 5191. And like I said, that 3 payrolls. I don't know if anybody's got any questions on financials.
Hearing no questions, I would entertain a motion to accept the financial report.
So moved.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. It's 2 motions, so I'll consider one of those a second. Questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carried. Okay.
My apologies, Gene. I did not realize I had myself muted, but I do have one addition to the agenda.
Oh, okay.
We need to add Saver Finger Lakes interest only payment request.
It's on the new agenda, Mike. You have the old agenda up.
I opened the one you sent. Okay. If it, I thought I opened the right one. Okay, perfect.
So, all right, we're all set then. We can always add if we need to going down the line.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Right, so management reports. Doreen,
I have nothing new to add.
okay. Michael,
So I finally was able to talk to the state yesterday, Office of Community Renewal on the Building Improvement Fund project. We had kind of put a pause on things for a little bit, just trying to make sure we were proceeding properly. The result of the environment we're currently in. I did speak with them yesterday. They are willing to allow us to hold a virtual or webinar style information meeting to provide the program information, goals, application process, and reimbursement process to building owners online in this type of setting. So I'll start the marketing and outreach to the building owners for that. I think I stated in my management report, we understand that it's a difficult time for businesses to be considering expansion or renovation projects on their building. But we want them to know that this program's still out there, it's forthcoming, and at least allow them to begin thinking about potential projects once things are back to a relatively new normal. So we should be progressing with that here soon. I have the presentation ready to go. It's just getting the marketing and outreach done, and then holding the meeting alongside Insight, which is our architect and design consultant that's working with us on that. We completed some design guidelines that we'll include in that meeting. That kind of a starting point and guideline for the building owners to have some uniformity in the work that's to be done in these projects that are eventually awarded funds. No questions on that. I think I did say in my management report as well, but wanted to reiterate a lot of the conversations that I've been having are dire. The businesses are struggling, but it's beyond encouraging to see and hear the community support. Everyone is, despite their own challenges, is offering their assistance. So we're all in this together. And it is reassuring to see that.
any questions for Michael? Okay, we'll move on to Michael. The other Michael. Hearing none, Steve, you all set?
Yeah, I guess the only thing I will add is it's interesting to note that the masks that I've been joking, I think, with Gene and some others I've talked to in my weekly roundup of the masks that have been made. I have found myself on roads in Yates County I had no idea existed, and I thought I knew where most of the roads were in the county. It's been fun little field trips I've taken. The challenge is those are all gone. At least all the ones I have, and this newest mandate by Cuomo that all essential employees have to wear them. And they had, basically 2 days to figure out how to do this. The masks aren't there, so just in the last couple, yesterday actually, I got requests from Yates County for more masks, from the Village of Penn Yan, from Silgan Plastics. I see there's another one that's come in today, and I just keep saying I'll get back to you. Let me see. I follow back up with Ada tomorrow to see how many more she's had, and if I got to go collect more or not. I think to a large degree the group that's been doing them is running on fumes a little bit. So I'm not sure that the state thought through, once they forced this mandate out there, where people would find the masks. But that's an existing challenge we're trying to figure out, I guess. I have gotten back the first draft of the preliminary feasibility study for next gen corporate park. A couple of missing pieces that we need to get filled in, but it right now looks fairly. The timing obviously stinks, but the initial cost estimates aren't. They're within what I was hoping they would be. Obviously, if we're gonna do it, we'd still need cooperation from the municipalities on a cost share, and so obviously this is a terrible time for this to come forward. But if we can make our way through that, at least the initial results on it looked pretty good. And then I'll just finish up with, I want to congratulate Mike Spella and Doreen, specifically Mike LaPerry helped too, but we got the Paris submissions in. That's always a big undertaking. Every year we have to submit a whole bunch of information on the state's public authority accountabilities website, and it's not an easy thing to do. And from my perspective, with Mike on board now, between him and Doreen, it went a lot more smoothly this year, at least for me, than it has in the past. So I take that as a win. And the last thing is, I did get a confirmation email back from the state controller's office that they have received our corrective action plan on the audit that we undertook. So as far as I can tell, that is now officially complete, and we don't have any additional, I guess, liabilities or requirements to do from that aspect. So bunch of big check marks off the list here that we got through in the last couple, since the last meeting. That's all I have, unless there's questions.
Thank you, and congratulations, everybody, on all those reports. So with that, we'll move into our new business agenda. And we've got the Benton LLC public hearing resolution. Well, I thought we couldn't have those according to the governor, but anyway.
That's the old agenda up.
Oh.
Yeah, I never received the updated agenda.
I just sent it to you.
Okay, right now.
Yep. So Dr. Shapiro, rent deferral.
Okay, so then we're gonna go with that then. So who wants to talk about that?
Go ahead, Doreen.
So I received a call from Dr. Doctor here in our facility. He's wondering if he could have my guess is delay on rent, but my guess is he wants to probably not pay rent for 90 days because they are not seeing, they're not booking patients at this time. I told him that I would have to bring it before the board He called again on Monday, and I said, we haven't had our board meeting yet. But it was on the agenda and that I would get back to him. So I throw that out there. Whether you want to do a deferral.
It's kind of the same, Gene, I'll jump in here. It's kind of the same for the next item, which is the Indigo lease, on the Indigo lease request. They're both looking for some assistance as they've been impacted. I guess I would suggest we do for Shapiro. We could look at a 60-day, see where things are, but it's a 60-day deferral on his rent payments if the board sees it to do, and I guess we'll start there. So maybe a 60-day deferral for Shapiro's as they aren't able to see patients.
I have a resolution or a motion to defer Dr. Shapiro's rent payments for 60 days.
So moved.
Questions?
Yeah, can I just add a comment? We probably should talk about what we want to do with those deferred payments. And I don't know if you want to prorate it or recoup that over the next 6 or 12 months, or how you go about that. But those 2 months or 60 days worth of lease payments that are deferred, we should recapture at some point.
Again, we could we could do it over the remaining span of the lease term. I don't know how much time they have left in it, but we could just defer it and recoup it over the next remaining span of the life of the existing term they're under.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be fine with whatever you come up with there. I just think if it's just completely gone, then I think you could end up with a lot of requests for that.
Sure.
The idea that, and you shouldn't have to go without receiving rent, period. But it'd be very nice, and I would agree with pretty much anybody that asks that is harmed by this to offer something similar to them, as long as it's recouped over, like you said, the remaining life of the lease.
Okay, so then I would entertain a motion that we honor the deferral request. However, the deferred amount has to be paid within the terms of the lease. Somebody like to make that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carried. So we probably would do the same thing with the Indigo.
She actually requested something slightly different. She would has asked to go back to her. We gave her a lower rent lease to get started there, so she has requested to go back to that, which is $250 a month for her space for the next 90 days. And I think we could do that again. Just have her catch back up over the remaining term of the lease. So this is a 90-day for the next 90 days to go down to $250, and then recoup the rest of the lease through that additional amount through the remaining term of the lease.
Okay.
That motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carried. Okay, so now we're back to our representation approval. Harris Beach. Somebody would like to make that motion?
So moved.
Okay, thank you. And a second, we have that. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? And carried. And what do we got now? Sabre Finger Lakes.
Yes, Sabre Finger Lakes reached out. They requested to convert to interest-only payments until they open for business. Project is about 80% complete. But with
Mike, I think you need to speak up a little bit. You're having a hard time hearing.
Sorry about that. Is that better?
Much
better.
I had the wrong headphone in. Sabre Finger Lakes is requested to convert to interest-only payments until they are able to open for business. The project is about 75 to 80% complete. But with the governor's executive order to suspend construction, they are unable to finish the project as of right now. They're hoping to complete the project as soon as that order is lifted. But the owner is fairly confident that he is going to miss most of this season as a result, and does not want to open up in the fall or winter during the downtime. And is likely looking towards an opening of summer or spring of 2021. So he's requested that once the 90-day deferral of loan payments is lifted, that he converts to an interest-only payment until he opens for business.
Would someone like to do that?
So moved.
So
Any questions or comments or discussion?
Yeah, I just have a question for Mike and Steve. Is it then where you would keep the maturity the same, but then when the principal payments resume, then to re-amortize within the same maturity? Because his other monthly payments would then go up quite a bit, probably.
I think for most of them, what we've done is collected a balloon payment at the end. Talking through it, I know we've discussed different options to extend the term or shorten the term based on the number of months remaining, which would increase the monthly payment, but eliminates that balloon payment at the end. So by the end of the scheduled term date, they're paid in full without having to pay a large lump sum. Open for discussion on this one. He didn't make any sort of request or offer any consideration on that.
I think we should bump the term out. I mean, it's different from, this is out unless someone else has a different idea. I mean, he would open if he could. Especially I think it would make more sense to extend the term, but if there's differing opinions, that's fine.
Steve, is his construction limited because it's not an essential business? Because I know they're still building the apartments across from the marina. So is he just taking a break because he's worried about the demand once it opens, or is he truly not able to keep building?
He's not able to build, as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
Right.
If we had some minor construction projects that were going to take place here, and the contractor just didn't want to go out and do it because he didn't want to take the chances. I think the penalty is like $10,000 a day if you're involved in a project that's not considered essential.
Okay. Thanks, Gene.
This is Rita. I think we should extend the term.
All right.
Yeah, I would agree. Either extending the term or having it be a balloon, but making the regular monthly payments higher would just make it that much harder to get off the ground on a good foot. So I think
Yeah.
The only other thing to say is I don't know. I'm a little hesitant to offer the interest only for an open-ended period of time to say until they open, just because then it's not time-bound at all. And I wouldn't want it to take advantage of going too far, but maybe do it for 6 or 12 months or whatever you're comfortable with, and then it could be revisited.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
If it's completely open-ended, there's a little bit more risk there.
So let's go 6 months.
6 months. If he's able to get construction and open, then great. If not, we'll revisit it.
Right.
To me, that makes more sense. It's a little safer.
Well, if I understood it correctly, he doesn't really want to open up until spring of next year, which is really 12 months from now. Of course, we can revisit this again, but 6 months is going to put him right in the middle of October, November, or something like that, whatever. So just put that on the table so that we don't have to go back and do this again.
Good point.
Because if we're just saying interest only for 6 months, I guess that means that the payments would start again in November or December, and that's really when he doesn't want to open, or they don't want to open.
Well, if we can write it in a way where it's principal begins when open for business not to exceed 12 months, so that we're not on the hook for a full 12 months if things change around quicker than we think. And he is able to open. But then we don't have to come back to it if it's so by April or May 1 of next year, he's got to start paying either way.
12 months or interest only for a period of either 12 months or when the business opens, whatever comes first.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, is that acceptable? If it is, I'd entertain a motion with those terms.
So moved.
So moved.
Okay. And I guess we have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I don't see anything else on the agenda. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's wonderful. Other than a motion to, well, I thank everybody for doing this, and it's probably not the best way to meet, but certainly I think we've gotten through a lot, and everybody hopefully feels that they've had an opportunity for input and comment, and Steve and Doreen and everyone, are you getting all this what you need?
Yeah, I think this month went much better than last month, and hopefully we don't have to keep doing this for too long. But no, this worked well, and I will follow up with you on some of these points that were brought up today. I really appreciate the input.
Okay, thank you. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. See you sometime soon. Next week, next month. Bye now.
Bye, guys.
Have a good